Australian Rugby League Commission Chairman Peter V'landys joins us. G'day, Pete. How are you, mate?
Very good, thank you.
Great to have you on board. Look, there's so many positives about rugby league at the moment. It's never been brighter in the game of rugby league. But yesterday, our rival code, I don't even want to give it its name, but we'll call it Aussie Rules.
We call it FLA, so that's probably the best way to...
Well, their chairman, I didn't know his name, CEO Andrew Dillon, he said this about the NRL yesterday.
Andrew, what did you make of NRL boss Peter V'landys' comments that rugby league's got AFL covered on effectively every metric, including the money and the viewership on TV?
Rugby league. I think what we really worry about ourselves, and we measure ourselves on traditional metrics like people turning up to games, people watching, how long they watch for, how many people play and where they play.
The actual fact.
Or we just call them traditional metrics.
Oh, right.
Metrics, Bill.
What do you make of that, Pete?
Look, the AFL have always looked down their nose at rugby league. They treat us as second-class citizens. It's obvious we've got them rattled. And the figures and the facts speak for themselves. Last year, just the premiership matches, NRL had 154 million viewers compared to the AFL's 140 million viewers. When you add the State of Origin and the international games, we had 187 million viewers to the AFL's 149 million viewers. The NRLW, which I'm so proud of, we averaged 166,000 per game. The AFLW averaged 70,000 per game. On social media, the NRL's got 6.8 million. The AFL's got 4.6 million. So what metrics do they actually want?
Traditional metrics, PVL.
What's the traditional metrics? The ones that you make up. I don't understand what the traditional ones are.
I don't want them counting my money then.
No, I can tell you. But they always have looked down their nose at us, and for the first time, we're actually giving them competition. I can remember last year, 5 years ago, ironically, we shut down the competition, and we came out and said we're going to start on the 28th of May. One AFL club chairman called us out as delusional, reckless, stupid, that we'll be starting in August, September. We started on the 28th of May, and then 2 weeks later, they followed us.
Yeah.
We have a thing called Magic Round. All of a sudden, there's a gather round. What are they gathering? What are they gathering, sticks and stones? I read in the paper this week that they've got this new investment policy. It's the NRL's investment policy. So keep copying us. You won't beat us, but you can keep copying us. That's fine.
No, you're spot on, Pete. And the operative word is rattled. And I think the success that rugby league is enjoying at the moment, there's no doubt the game is in the best sweet spot that it's ever been in. And we've seen previous administrators like Ken Arthurson and John Quayle lauded for their vision and the way that they were able to set the game up in terms of future-proofing it. But there is no question at the moment, under the leadership of Peter and also Andrew Abdo, that the NRL is absolutely flying. In terms of the AFL, Pete, why do you think that they've decided that they want to try and make these sniping-style attacks? It's the fact that they're on the back foot, and it's the fact that you're enjoying so much success at the moment. Look,
as I said, they always look down their nose. They always treat it as second-class citizens. I don't apologise that I'm a son of a labourer at the steelworks, and that's the person I look after, the genuine fan of the game. I don't look after the toffs. I don't take notice of the toffs. I will always look after the fans. And I should add also, we've got the best CEO in the business in Andrew Abdo. There is no, he's the best sports administrator in Australia. So we've got him as well. So they can keep taking the snipes. We'll just keep batting them back.
Thank you, Peter. Just Dobbo, he doesn't rub with you, mate. You're tough.
Hey, Peter, I look after the people. I look after the people at Mossman as well, Gordon. So don't worry.
Peter, God, you're better than that, Pete. Don't join that gang.
But you know what, Peter? You're 100% right. I know some people from a bit more well-to-do areas than myself, and they're desperate not to love and like our game, but they are starting to fall in love with it. I want to ask you about, like, not the business side of things, but the product as well. Like, you've surely got to feel that we are a superior product with pound for pound, way better athletes playing our sport.
Oh, absolutely. And I take my hat off to our players. Their fitness levels, their skill levels, their ability. There's no one better I've seen in world sport than a rugby league player. And I'm very proud of that. And they prove it week in, week out. You know, we've gone from being 52, 53 minutes of ball in play to nearly 60 minutes of ball in play, as comparative to rugby union, which is 30 to 31 minutes of play. And that's due to our players. They've sped the game up. They've made it entertaining, and the people are voting with their feet. They are coming to watch our sport. We had record viewership in the first round, the highest first round in the history of rugby league, and that's breaking the record from the previous year. So people are, as you say, James, voting with their feet and watching the game because the players are really putting it on and making it so entertaining that people watch it, they escape, they become tribal. And that's what the great game of rugby league is all about.
Yeah, Pete, thankful, mate. Like, our game is a world stage game now. Like, after going to Vegas, I believe that we do belong on the world stage. And it all started on a whiteboard. Can you tell all the NRL fans in the next 5 or 10 years, is there anything else going to come on that whiteboard? And where do you see us in the next 5 to 10?
Look, I think I'm really proud of what we've done in Las Vegas and the fact that we got 400,000 viewers, American viewers this year. That'll go to 800. It'll go to 1 million. I think we'll break the American market in the next, 5 years and have a complete new audience. What I'm most excited about is Papua New Guinea. I don't think people have seen the potential of Papua New Guinea. There's 10 million people that they say, but there's closer to 18 million people, and they're all devout rugby league fans. So we don't have to penetrate their tragics. We had 1.8 million viewers last year for the Prime Minister's match at Australia, Papua New Guinea. And that's higher than we've received. Now, even if you charge the lowest rate possible for rugby league to be streamed in Papua New Guinea, it has the potential to actually generate more broadcast revenue than we do in Australia. Wow. So it's I don't think people have seen, and if we do it right, we've got to implement it right naturally. And if you implement it right and we get the pathways right and we get the and I was so encouraged when the Papua New Guinea schoolboy side drew with the Australian schoolboy side. And anyone that follows rugby league always sees that most of the Australian schoolboys make it to the elite level in the NRL. So there's an opportunity there for these PNG schoolboys to really come to their own and start getting their name out there, start developing the Papua New Guinea profile. Oh, that's what I'm most excited about.
Speaking of expansion, Pete, and you're spot on, your track record shows that you're not setting it up to fail. But in terms of this sort of targeted, I guess you could call it a water pistol drive-by from the rival code, how much of that has got to do with Western Australia and what's going on over there at the moment, and the fact that the NRL is looking to further expand not just to Papua New Guinea but also into WA? How much of that has got the rival code rattled?
Look, I think they would be concerned because then we would become national as they are. But what they haven't got is they haven't got the Pacific, and they haven't got New Zealand, they haven't got England, they haven't got France, and that's where we need to expand our game. But Western Australia is an important part of our strategy, and if it comes off, it comes off. If it doesn't, we'll just move forward and continue what we do. But look, the information is that there is concern by the AFL in our ambition to get into Western Australia, and I don't understand why, because competition always lifts all ships. You know, we don't object to the Swans being here in Sydney or GWS being in Sydney because that improves our performance. So I don't understand why they're so adamant in trying to keep us out of WA.
There's a report today in the paper that the deal's almost done, Pete. Is there truth to it? That are you going to announce shortly? I know that it's still up in the air, but are you confident that you'll get the West one?
Look, as I said, there's a pretty massive campaign trying to keep us out of Western Australia, and look, we abided by what the Premier wanted over there. When the election was called, we stopped discussions. It wouldn't have been appropriate for us. There was no agreement reached. There was nothing set in stone. And he was very professional. He said, look, I'm going to an election. Can you please now wait until after the election and we can resume discussions? So all this stuff that we had deals done, and that's all wrong. We are still going to negotiate with the Western Australian government, and if we can reach an agreement, we will. But we're not going to sell rugby league short, and we will move forward with or without them.
There's lots of questions at the moment in rugby league, and obviously you get bombarded with day-to-day mundane stuff. But we just were talking a little earlier about contracts and clauses that have been taken off your website now that they're no longer. What's the reason behind that? And are you looking to get those special clauses taken out of contracts long term?
Now, what we're talking about here is the actual options. The players, either the club had an option to renew the contract or the player has an option. And we used to advise that the contracts that the players or the club had options. The RLPA, who do a very good job in representing the players, and I respect that that's what they do, wanted that removed off our website. So we agreed to that in the CBA, and it was really purely if the player or the club had an option to extend the contract.
Right.
And we've removed it as part of a CBA agreement, and they negotiated hard at the time. And like any agreement, you've got to give and take, because we wanted to finalise that agreement. As you remember, it took a long time.
Yep.
And there's some of the things that they were passionate and adamant about, and that was one of them.
Peter, obviously the expansion is a nice segue into the up-and-coming broadcast rights deal. How are you feeling entering this? Full of optimism, I assume?
Oh, look, I'm very, very confident of our ability to get the biggest broadcast deal ever, because we've worked so hard to make and the players, the coaches, the clubs, for the first time, rugby league is working as a unit. And as because we're working together, the players, the clubs, the coaches, everyone that's involved in rugby league, we have got the biggest viewership we've ever had of the game. We beat them on Foxtel. We beat them on free-to-air, all sports I'm talking about. So if that's the case, why don't we get the most broadcast rights? And that's what we're going to do. We're going to go out there and not undersell the product. We're going to make sure that we get the right rights. But in saying that, make no apology that I'm there for the fan, and I want to make sure that the fan has the right price point. I don't want us getting deals where then it becomes unaffordable for the fan. One of the negotiation points is the price point. We want to make sure that every fan can subscribe to rugby league, and it's not a prohibitive cost.
Yeah, no, I think everybody agrees with that in this room as well. Pete, great to talk. He doesn't know who he's picked a fight with, this Andrew Dillon. He's barking up the wrong tree. He really is. Thanks for being with us, Peter V'landys. We really appreciate you giving us some time on a Sunday.
My pleasure.
Okay, numbnuts. What is a proper sports fan? You tell me in this forum, what's a proper sports fan?
You want to know what a proper sports fan is?
Yeah.
It's when your life revolves around the draw. It's the obsessions, Dobbo. It's the depressions. It's referencing your club as us, as we won, we lost, we drew, we need to be better, we're flying, we're going to the grand final, we won the comp. It's the feeling you get when you wake up and you put on your lucky undies because your club needs you. It's watching that sideline conversion like a kid playing hide and seek, and you just peek through your fingers. It's seeing your team lose 5 in a row, and after conceding 80 points, you say, I'm done, I'm never coming back. And you find out, you realise, you go, oh, I'm in Hotel California. I can check out any time I like, but I can never leave. It's your day being ruined, Dobbo, by a training ground injury to your star player, and you're Googling how long to return is a syndesmosis grade 3. It's kids and great-grandkids, grandfathers and great-grandfathers all coming together, all bonding together over a sports club. It's seeing your dad cry for the very first time in your life, Dobbo. That's what it is. It's abandoning your differences, Dobbo. It's abandoning politics beliefs, religious beliefs. It's escaping the tragedy of life and what people have to go through, all for 2 hours of their life, of their week. It's that dreaded feeling of getting a wedding invitation and the date's in September. And you're going to have to face the music about why you can't go because your team might be playing finals. It's getting your team thrown out of the comp and not accepting it and marching in the streets. It's visiting that old stadium and finding, which happened to me, is now a housing estate, and the ghosts of the past say thank you for being there. It's seeing your rivals win 4 in a row and telling your kids, no, you cannot support that team. That's what being a sports fan is, because our colours don't run. And you know what else is being a sports fan, Dobbo? Turning up after seeing your star player sign for the richest deal in NRL history and booing them. Yeah. Booing when he runs out, booing on his first touch. You're going to boo him next week, and you're going to boo him even more next year, and you're going to boo him for the next 10 years. It's that gut-wrenching feeling of the realization that maybe for them it's not the same, that it's about money, and that loyalty is dead. And Dobbo, being a sports fan, if you have to ask the question, then you will not understand the answer, my friend.
So all you Canterbury fans out there, don't ever talk to James Graham again, because exactly you did the thing when you went to St George. Yes, you did.
No,
you took money out of the club.
Whoa,
Yes,
whoa,
you did.
whoa, whoa,
You're a liar.
whoa, whoa.
You're a liar.
No, stop
You're a
the
liar.
fight.
You're
Stop
a liar.
the fight, right? Jimmy Graham has just wiped the floor with
No,
you.
he hasn't.
He has.
That's what
No, he
being a
has not.
sports fan is.
That's what he
Dobbo.
thinks
If
is
you
a
could hear
sports
every
fan.
Triple M fan, if you could hear every Triple M fan, they're booing you right now.
No, they're not booing
He has
me.
wiped the floor
So
with you.
you're
the
a
same
I'm
sports
way.
agreeing with a lot of that, but I'm sorry. I agree with 99% of what he says, but I don't necessarily agree that you're not a sports fan, because I don't think Dylan Brown deserved to get booed by Parramatta.
You just don't get it.
He's wiped the floor
In
with
your
you.
You don't
opinion.
get it.
He's wiped the floor
No,
with you.
in everybody's opinion.
No. You three don't make up my I look.
Dobbo,
I know.
I
don't-
boo
don't know 'cause we
players.
didn't go to
I
a
boo
private
players.
school and we didn't play rugby union.
Well, some
'Cause
did.
we're rusted on.
Some did.
Jimmy Graham
No,
has wiped the floor with
rusted
you
on,
the
Dobbo.
same way as what Peter
He's rusted
V'landys
onto
has
the
just wiped the
Tigers.
floor with Andrew Dillon.
James Hooper.
That's what's happened.
James Hooper goes to Leichhardt. He rides the losses and the wins, and he's tough
Mate,
on them. You dogs, Redcliffe, mate, I want some Titan shorts. As mate,
It's
said,
not even
born
so
in-
much flipping and flopping
born in
around
New
the
South
sides,
Wales.
Dobbo.
I go for Queensland.
Anyway.
It's not so much flipping and flopping around the sides. I think, in all seriousness,
Yes, it
the
is.
point. Well, that's a big part of it, but also one of the salient points is you can't tell fans that they aren't allowed to boo somebody.
I'm not
right?
telling
well, you
them.
Are. You
No,
did.
I'm saying that doesn't define a sports fan if you choose not to boo. I don't care that you boo. I
fans
booed at
pay
the
their
Cleveland
money.
Browns.
The fans pay their
no, no,
hard-earned.
Dobbo,
They're
No,
going to be
you said they're not allowed
devastated.
to boo.
You were critical of them fans booing, and if
I
you
just don't think it's fair. I don't think it defines who Dylan Brown is.
Okay, so that's it. You don't get it.
I don't
Dobbo,
get your
you
opinion.
don't get it. You
You know,
just don't get it.
this is
and
the
you
problem.
just you to say turn around and say, "Oh well, the Bulldogs fans, mate, you have no idea about how and why I left that football club. That has nothing to do with me being a Judas."
But the fans
that was
don't
a,
know
that
that.
was a dangerous road that you
Dobbo,
started to go
I
down
took
there.
it personal, right? If I run out against New South Wales and I didn't get booed, if I run out at Belmore and they didn't rip me, if I go up to the referee and the crowd on me, I'm thinking these guys don't get it.
There is a level, though.
So yeah, Dobbo, you might not
You
remember
booed
the
the best
player.
players.
You might not remember this. Gary Connolly came through at St Helens.
Yep.
Went to
Good
Wigan,
centre.
our arch rivals. We used to chant Judas. Judas, Judas, every single touch for 10 years. 10 years. Sol Campbell left Tottenham Hotspur to go to Arsenal, and he is not welcome back at Tottenham Hotspur because he left for the arch rivals, a move you do not make. Luis Figo plays for Barca and Real Madrid, and they throw pennies. They go mental for it. That's what being a sports fan is, Dobbo. And if you can't resonate with that, then you don't know.
No doubt about it. Everyone at the West Tigers deserves enormous credit for what they've been able to achieve. It's only early doors. We're only up to round 3. But their recruitment, Jimmy, the way that they got active in the market, some of the players that they were able to attain, all of a sudden, it looks like a completely different football side.
It does, Hoops. But guess what? This is the West Tigers' best start to a season since
Last year.
2024.
Don't be a naysayer.
pop the
Don't be a
balloon.
naysayer
Don't
after that
I'm not
performance.
being a
They
naysayer.
were-
I'm
they
telling
were
the
down-
truth.
Well, the truth of the matter is, and Hoops, you covered the game for Fox. We called the game here on Triple M. Down, 18-6 with 5 to play in the first half, and De Silva scores that try to make it 18-12 at halftime, and you could see the shift of momentum from that moment. And the Tigers teams of the past, we haven't seen have that resilience when they do get out to a score to come back into that.
And look, I was joking, but I think it gives it context that they've had good starts to the season before. But they'll be internally delighted with some of the effort plays. Like Jerome Luai bought for his attack. There's been a couple of times he's backtracking in defence. The acquisition of Terrell May, Taruva has been quality as well. And I think, when you think about the players they brought in, we were thinking, it's all out attack. They've got the spine, but their defence has been first class. It really has, and they should be credited for the work that they've done in the off season. They've been an easy beat for everybody in the media over the past couple of seasons, but you've got to give credit where credit's due. Benji and the ability to attract those players is paid in dividends.
Both of you know rugby league very well. The thing that, and we can talk about, Taruva and obviously Luai, but it's their forward pack that's really impressed me so far. And I understand May, and we'll get to him in a minute. But Bolle has been unbelievable as well. And also Safar, he was very, very good last night. And Fainu, they've got a very, very good pack that I call them workers. They all put their hand up to work. They weren't flashy. They just did a lot of work, which in years gone by, Stefano seemed to be the only bloke that would have put his hand up. I know they had Sean Bloor there a couple of years ago, but they haven't had that consistency. It looks a lot more consistent as a pack watching them last night than they have been in years gone by. And
look, you said we're going to touch on him later, but I'm going to bring him up now. I'm going to credit Terrell May with that.
Yeah.
Like, you see in Terrell May, I see a player that maybe has come to the club highly motivated with a point to prove, like to prove everybody wrong at the Roosters. Also, to come out of the shadows of Jared, of Lenu, of Collins, of Radley to an extent, of middles, and being like, I'm number 4 on the in the pick of middles, in the pecking order. I need to go and show everybody why I'm top dog. And, when front rows like Terrell May can walk into an organisation, and it's with Luai as well to an extent, but Terrell May, he drives standards. And fortunate enough to spend some time with him on the bye round. He came on and spoke about his off-season training, like running marathons in the off-season off his own back. Like most high-performance managers would be saying, no, rest up and we'll hit the ground running when you get back. We're going to get you fit. But he has no time for that. He's very strong-minded, strong-willed. And I think when somebody like that goes into a dressing room, everybody else has to lift their standards.
He made the most tackles last night. I look at how much he's run. He made 45 tackles last night. And, Hoops, correct me if I'm wrong, he played the first 40 minutes and then he came on and played next 12 minutes into the second half before they spelled him. And you're right, Gemma, like his fitness levels, and I don't want to compare, but it's of Payne Huss levels with how much fitness and motor for this front rower. And it's a different middle forward now that we're seeing in the likes of these blokes. Like, it's a great signing for the West Tigers.
Jimmy's right. He's become the cornerstone for the West Tigers. He's the alpha. He leads, and the rest of the forward pack all roll off the back of him. And they're working as a unit. But, I mean, the other thing that was super impressive is the fitness and the form of this young bloke, Lachlan Galvin. His involvement on and off the ball, the amount of work he does, he is constantly, when the West Tigers got the ball, he's constantly moving and he's running full field. Yeah. He'll be on the left, then he'll be on the right, then he's swooping back to the other side, then he's coming at you through the middle. And for the West Tigers, it's so pivotal that they get Lockie and also the young dummy half who's a deputy to Appy at the moment, but in time will end up being a household name every day of the week in Talon Silva. The West Tigers need to get in and try and lock up the future of the club by securing those guys on long-term contracts.
You're right there, Hoops. They can't afford another Tedesco and Moses situation where they're looking back in 10 years' time going, geez, if we'd have had them, we could have built something. Yeah. I think with Galvin, I like what you say about him in your observations because he looks like a young kid that's so excited to play and he wants to do everything, which is great, from a coaching perspective. Look, Benji might have to like pull him back, but you'd rather that than having to push him to go and get more. It's like this spark in him that he just wants the ball. It's almost like he wants a ball for himself at times. But it's brilliant because he's just. It's that effort, that will to want to make a difference at the age of 19. And I think when we seen him based onto the scene last year, we saw them sign Luai and think, how are they going to complement each other? Are they going to get each other's way? Will Galvin take a back step? He's not.
Well,
he's actually going to find another gear, and it's
putting him in better positions.
That's exactly what I saw from last night as well, is that Galvin, everybody's talked him up. And you think with Luai that maybe Luai being the alpha and the 4-time premiership player, that Galvin would take a back seat, but they're neck and neck. They're both, they're expansive footballers. I came away from last night going, how good is Galvin? Hoops, where are we at with that? The Tigers say they want to keep him.
Of course they want to keep him.
But realistically, is that achievable? Because
absolutely, it's achievable. He's signed until the end of next year. They've got until November to try and negotiate an extension. And look, there is no question, Lachie Galvin, it might break the Dylan Brown record. It won't be a 10-year deal, right?
But the money per year.
But he may well end up being paid more than the $1.3 million that Dylan Brown is being paid.
Well, he's better than Dylan Brown.
And, I saw some quotes from Blocker Roach during the week where Blocker said, look, they just need to get him signed. He's not a fan of 10-year deals, but definitely he said you'd be looking at a 4 or a 5-year deal, and you just make sure that he's happy. And then you create stability, and you haven't got all this outside noise. One of the narratives that's been getting spun, Dobbo, over the course of the last couple of weeks is that Lockie's decision is going to come down to coaching. That it's going to be, that came up on NRL 360 this week, and it's also been in the papers over the course of the last fortnight. But I feel as though, to Jammer's point from earlier, Benji is allowing Lockie and Jerome to evolve their combination and play the way that he's giving them some license to roam. He's giving them some freedom to play what they're seeing and whatever they're feeling. And I actually think that can work in West Tigers' favour. There's a lot of similarities between when Lockie is where he's at in his career at the moment and his age as a teenager, and when Benji first emerged on the scene. There's a lot of similarities there. So I actually think that if it is going to come down to coaching, well, that could work in Benji's favour.
Now we've finally got him online. Hello, Gordon. How are you, mate? Good to see you.
That was the best 10 minutes of radio you've done, Dob. I couldn't hear you. That's the best.
We're just talking about the Tigers and from what we saw last night, and just with Galvin, just how he's and you would have heard it, the Luai-Galvin combination in the halves, and how a lot of people question whether or not it's working, and it's working a treat at the moment.
Yeah, well, we watched them firsthand last week, right? And after the first half an hour, like when they started to combine a little bit more, don't forget that was probably the first game they've played together with that spine. I think the more it grows, the better it's going to be. But I, like anybody, you can't pay him a record amount.
Why?
Well, if you want to, you go get the best number 6 in the game.
Isn't he one of the best?
Isn't he one of the best now?
Emerging ones, Gordy?
Will he play Origin this year?
No, probably not this year.
No, well then
but I
that's
think
when
he
you know
will.
you're
But
the
I think he
best.
will down the road.
Is he better than Luai?
Not at this
better
point.
Than Munster?
No, he's not better than. Not at this
No.
point.
Is
But
he
he's only
better than
19.
Cody Walker? I know. I know. I'm just playing devil's advocate here.
Yeah.
Being like, why do we have to keep on? Oh, right. So this young kid plays 3 games. Geez, I wish that happened. Mate, you play 3 good games and you get a 10-year deal.
I'm not saying give him a 10-year deal, but I think the Tigers are crazy if they don't look at, say, a 5-year deal, and that they average it out at around $1.2 million or something like that. That means it's a $6 million deal.
Yeah.
He's already signed until the end of next year anyway.
I think he's got a lot of potential.
Yeah, for the trajectory that he's on, Gordy, I reckon that's about right. I think the Tigers are doing the right thing by the club and also the right thing by Lockie, because they really, given his backstory, the fact that he is a local junior, he's come through Campbelltown, he's won an SG Ball premiership with West Magpies back in 2022. They've got to try and, that's the future of West Tigers.
Well, if he wants to play his style of footy, you think Benji, the way he played, would be the best guy for it.
Exactly.
Right? Float in and out of structure. He's had Tim Sheens, he's had Wayne Bennett. I don't know who else Benji's had, but he's had a lot of coaches over a lot of years. Had a stint in rugby union, played for the Kiwis, would have had all these different coaches, played with so many different playmakers, and I think he's a student of the game. So what do you want if you're a 5'8"?
Well, I've got to say as well, I think there's more to this Lachie Galvin future than just him staying or leaving, because what he does as a player on the field. Think about the devastation it would bring to the fans, the club, the current roster if Galvin is to go.
Sure.
Like it would rip the hearts out, the hope would be dialed down. If you've got your best young talent probably in decades and he decides to leave, I think, the money side of it, you've got to factor in the fact of what it would do if he leaves to the whole organisation. But for me, Richardson and Marshall, when you've got a player like this, you've got to act on emotion, and you've got to act when Galvin's happy and put in the deal when he's happy. When you're happy, you're winning.
Yeah.
So,
But he might be happy. It's his managers that want to clip the ticket.
Yeah, I know, but this is where you've got to be strong as a club, Gordy, and you've got to go in. If Tigers go on a bit of a winning streak or they look like they're going to play finals, get the deal in front of him. Don't put a deal in front of him when you're going for a bit of a slump. Get the deal on the table. The timing from Richardson and Marshall is crucial. Richardson would know what a deal is going to look like.
I think they're down the track.
In terms of the finances, he'll know. He'll have that deal ready to put in front of Lockie Galvin and his management team, but it's all about timing.
Well, if you look at Richo's track record, to your point, Jimmy, when he was at Penrith, he got deals done with players like Craig Gower and Ryan Gerd, like important figures who then went on to win premierships with the club. It was similar at Souths. He got a long-term deal done with John Sutton. He could see the potential in John when he was young and he was a little bit raw. He knew he needed him there. He got Adam Reynolds' deal done. He got Luke Keary's deal done. So I'd like to think in this set of circumstances, he's got time on his side, but Jimmy's right.
I think you sign everybody around him. I think you sign Buller. I think you sign Talon.
Well, they've got Buller signed. Yeah, Talon's off. Yeah,
then I reckon you sign all those really good young kids.
Yep.
Right, and say, well, they all want to be Tigers.
Yeah.
And then say, well, all your mates that you've played with, these guys are the future of this club.
Must be tough, Gordy. What would it be like, Gordy? I was thinking this last night when I was watching him play. He's only 19. What would that like? Yeah. And there's so much noise already about this.
I only know from like playing with Lockie and the boys. Like we were all over and we made a pact. Like Lockie, myself, Wendell, Webby, and that said, boys, if we stay together, we're going to be the future of this club, right? And we're all on a tour, and we were the only 4 Broncos on the tour playing for Australia. So we were the ones that just said, can we drive the standards of this club? And we all went out and we broke away from the team, and we had a couple of nights out on the lemonades and just spoke and just made a commitment to each other, right?
And that set the tone for a lot of premierships.
When we come back, Wendell went to the Wallabies. Wendell was all in until someone else showed him some love.
You know what, though? When in previous years, where Tigers would have been desperate to hold on to someone like Galvin and he could have written his own check. Obviously now signing Luai and some other players on decent money. Like you look at the impact of salary cap. Luai is on 1.2. Like the juggling act and the jigsaw puzzle of your salary cap.
Who knows what?
It's hard to go. Okay, we've got our 6 and 7 on 1.2 each. Like shoes up, leaves less money for everybody else.